concludes our weather report for the day. Back to you, Jane.
Thanks, Elijah. Now we're going to start our special civil rights movement on this year's Black History Month.
Ever since African Americans came to America, they were never allowed to get a proper education. African Americans believed that since they lived in America, they deserved the same education as everyone else. They were right. Now we are going to go to Apple Bottom High School to see a student give a presentation on the segregation of schools in the 1960s.
In America. Elijah here with CNN News. I'm here at Apple Bottom High School with Marina and her map. Marina, what is this?
This map is the state's law regarding segregation in public schools for... Dude, can you stop? Okay. Before Brown vs. Board of Education court cases, the purple here is required, which means like there's required segregation in all of these states. The blue, just regular blue, is no legislation, which means like the government didn't really have a decision. The orange is optional or limited, which means that they didn't, like, you could have be segregated, you could not, but it was like a limited amount. It wasn't like the whole state. And the green is forbidden, which means that they had to be desegregated.
Elijah here, and this was fun.
This just in! 8 new car burglaries! Lock your cars! Keep all your things hidden! Oh no, save your children!
Oh no, my car's unlocked.
To you, Bertha!
Now we are headed to Dakota High School to check out their annual art show, where there is a monumental civil rights piece.
Welcome to CNN News. Here we are at Dakota High School with sophomore Julia Pella. How are you today?
Good, how are you?
I'm pretty good. Look at this great painting we have here. Why don't you explain it for us a little bit?
Okay, so the two hands represent all of the African Americans and how they have all their efforts to gain their freedom, and then the blood represents like the struggle and the pain that they went through, and then it's pouring down to fill up the American flag, which represents freedom and equality and equal opportunities and stuff.
What made you think of even drawing this at all?
It just came to me. I don't know.
Do you have a
Just
strong
naturally creative.
Do you have a strong feeling towards African Americans?
You can say that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
You are big on freedom and equality.
Yeah, I believe everyone should have equal rights and be free.
Yes. Are you guys learning about civil rights this year?
Yeah, we are actually.
Yeah.
Like MLK, he's my man.
He's your man from the heart. All right, now you have it. You see here, even sophomores know what they're talking about. Thank you, and have a nice night.
When you think of the civil rights movement, one of the first people that usually comes to mind is Martin Luther King Jr. This is because he made a huge impact on the United States. So many people were, and still are, inspired by him, and everything he accomplished during the civil rights movement. He changed society by protesting for equal rights for African Americans, and thus positively changed the future of society forever. Right here, we have a letter written to Martin Luther King by a civil rights activist named John Johnson. This letter proves how many lives he actually impacted. Dear Martin Luther King Jr., I am inspired by the use of your nonviolence tactics to achieve freedom for us African Americans. I joined your march at Washington, D.C. on August 28, 1963. Your I Have a Dream speech inspired and touched everyone there, including myself. I want to say thank you for all you do in leading the Southern Christian Leadership Conference and for never giving up on achieving freedom for African Americans. When you first led the 1955 Montgomery bus boycott, you were determined and you inspired others to walk behind you for 381 days until segregation in transportation was ruled unconstitutional. I also believe in your dream of achieving freedom and jobs for African Americans. Your leadership has created a big difference in the struggle of the civil rights movement, and I believe you have impacted this country in a positive way. Thank you for traveling around the country preaching to all of the civil rights activists. We are all happy to follow you in your footsteps. Your leadership offers promising consequences for future generations. We hope that one day we can eliminate all segregation and achieve equality. Sincerely, John Johnson.
Elijah and Bertha here with important news.
Instead of going on commercial break, we're going to show you an ad from the 1960s. This ad is from a newspaper from 1964. The special thing about this advertisement is that it is one of the first advertisements that accepted African Americans with no discrimination. After release from slavery, Jim Crow laws and discriminated state governments prevented blacks from getting non-marital jobs. The civil rights movement changed everything for skilled African Americans who just needed an opportunity to get their career started. And here is a blown-up picture of the ad.
Elijah here with CNN News, and I'm here at Mack High School, where we're going to visit Miss Harrison's classroom and learn about civil rights from the students. Come on! Hi, class.
Oh my gosh, you're Elijah from the news.
I am.
Hey,
What do we have here?
I'm doing my project on Freedom Riders.
What did they do? 7 blacks and 6 whites went on a very long bus ride to experiment with the new supreme law, Boynton versus Virginia. Their plan was to ride public buses with no segregation. Pretty good so far.
Thanks.
Hostility. Throughout the trip, the 13 individuals experienced much discrimination throughout their journey. It started off with cold shoulders, but it escalated and the Freedom Riders were beaten and a bus was burned. Where'd you get all this information from?
A website?
Very nice. No books?
Books too.
Books are good.
Yeah.
But did they give up? No! They did not. They didn't want people to think that they were weak, so they continued despite the hate. Lesson: forget about the haters, because everybody loves you. Result: many freedom riders were thrown in jail, but protests spread across the country and had an overall impact on the desegregation of America. That's a very good presentation. Alright, that's Elijah here, pranking kids one at a time. Thank you. And remember, civil rights is important, so let's keep these public schools good. No hats. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good night.
In 1940, before the Civil Rights Movement and before the Voting Rights Act of 1965, only 3% of African Americans were registered to vote in the South. African Americans faced obstacles when trying to register. For example, the Jim Crow laws, which called for literacy tests and poll taxes. Laws like these prevented African Americans from voting. However, they were able to peacefully march and protest to get the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which got rid of the Jim Crow laws. After this was passed, in 1965, 43% of African Americans were registered to vote. African Americans never gave up on their hope to being able to vote. Their determination allowed African Americans to have the voting rights that they do today. This is a chart showing the percentage of African Americans that could vote in 1940. It was only 3%. And then the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was passed, and then 43% of African Americans were registered to vote in the South.
Music has been around for centuries. It helps people get through tough times. For example, slaves sang songs when they were working out in the fields. In the 1960s, there were protest songs. Many of these songs gave African Americans hope and the drive to keep fighting for the opportunities they knew that they deserved. In this top 10 list that we researched, every song demonstrates the American dream and the freedom that African Americans wanted to achieve. So the 10th song on the top 10 list is Oh Freedom by Odetta. Number 9 is Ain't Gonna Let Nobody Turn Me Round by The Roots. Number 8 is Go Tell on the Mountain, compiled by John Wesley Work Jr. Number 7 is Sweet Honey in the Rock by Keep Your Eyes on the Prize. Number 6 is Lift Every Voice and Sing, written by James Weldon Johnson. Number 5 is Here's to the State of Mississippi by Phil Ochs. Number 4 is Strange Fruit by Billie Holidays. Number 3 is People Get Ready by The Impressions. Number 2 is Change Gonna Come by Sam Cooke. And number 1 is We Shall Not Be Moved by Mavis Staples, which has been playing since I've been talking.
Channel 4 News, I'm Elijah.
And I'm Bertha.
And here we are for our Civil Rights Movement special. Especially on Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. was an inspiration to us all. As an African American, some of the things that we take for granted were very challenging for him. He attended college, raised a family, and maintained a decent job. Martin Luther King Jr. was of many African Americans fighting for equality through this racism period. Malcolm X was also a very important figure. Malcolm X was more of a violent protester, whereas MLK, we know, was very peaceful and really worked for the words. We still remember him today for bringing about our freedom. Now we are equal. We are saved in many different ways. We are America. Thank you. Back to you.
And now welcoming a very important guest from Black History Month, modern day Martin Luther King Jr.
Hi. Nice
Hi,
to meet you,
Martin.
Bertha.
Thanks. Alright, so first question, what did you study?
I studied sociology. I got my bachelor's degree in divinity, and I'm qualified to be a pastor of a Baptist church.
Nice, nice. Okay, when did you deliver your famous speech, I Have a Dream?
August 28th, 1963. It was crazy, man. Okay, so we had, I organized like this march to Washington to fight for our racial rights.
What were you thinking when you said your speech?
Well, 250,000 people were watching me, and I just thought it was incredible. Everyone was listening to what I had to say, and it was great.
That's incredible. Can you summarize your speech?
Well, I had a very important part it was named after my children. I have 4 children, and it was saying I don't want them to grow up in a world where everyone's going to judge them based on their skin color and not their character.
What were you fighting against?
It mainly began with just desegregation to get the schools to be, together. But then eventually it just became about equality and being equal with everyone.
Awesome. So I heard you won the Nobel Peace Prize.
I did actually, yeah. The chairman of the board, he had saw me, continuously fighting for this racial idea of being equal. And he said he really liked the idea that I wasn't using violent terms. And the fact that I was using, just words and fighting for it, just no fists, just plain heart.
This last question to wrap up today's interview. Do you think your efforts have impacted today's American dream?
I do believe they have, actually. Today's African Americans, they can go to college, they can get their dream job, and they can be who they want to be, thanks to me. Freedom is a gift, and I think people, overuse it, and they feel like they just deserve it, they take it for granted. And people like us, we were born with that, and we're happy to have it. Latino, African American, we're on camera, let's hug it out. Thanks, America. Yo, it's MLK, and it's time for my rap, listen up. I'm MLK, and I say the day, Correct Scott King is my bae. I have a dream, that's what I always say. We don't cry, we continue to try. Brown versus board, open the door. I'm non-violent, but I have a plan, but it doesn't include killing another man. Civil rights bill, I always will. Voting Rights Act, everyone is to react. I have a dream? No! We have a dream? Yes! Yes! Freedom is the lock. Uniformity is the key. Oh yeah, let's slow it down a bit. Slow it down a bit. Let's keep it real tight. Let's become who we want to be. Let's become who we want to be. Let's be free. Let's be free, yeah. Thank you, America. Have a great night. Yeah, from CNN News and Bertha here. And today, we mainly talked about the Civil Rights Movement. That was our special today. And we very strongly, I think, believe that the American dream is still alive today. Because we have whites and African Americans together all the time now. We're mixed, we're friends, we're family. It's just the life now we have. We're equal, we have freedom rights. It's just how it works now. So I think we agree that American dream is still hot, still spicy, still good. Thank you. CNN News. Catch you later.
Bye.